Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
All right, so we got some stuff to address here. We got some stuff to address. First off, Saquon, you're done. You're done in New York. You're done. I'm not a fan. I'm not supporting you. I'm not rooting for you. I wish you nothing but the worst. It is what it is. You went someplace else. Maybe they were paying you the most money, but cool. As a man, as a person, cool. Do what you got to do. But as a football player, I'm rooting against Saquon the rest of his career. I'm not a fan of him, and that's just that. You go to Philadelphia Eagles, you're up. I just can't deal with it. You're on the Eagles. He's gonna be running behind that offensive line that's overpowered. He's gonna be throwing up his peace sign. I just know this dude is gonna come out against the Giants, who are gonna be a horrible team this year, and run for like 3 or 4 touchdowns, and everybody's gonna be saying, "Oh, they should have paid Saquon. He was the leader of their team." And listen, what did we accomplish with Saquon Barkley on the team? I'll wait. Did he run us to a Super Bowl? Did he run us? What did we accomplish on the back of Saquon Barkley? Let's be real. For the majority of the time he was here, he wasn't able to make it happen. Yes, he didn't get blocks, but do you really think that Barry Sanders was consistently blocked for? That does every single running back who's ever been good had a good offensive line? No. Some guys just make it happen, some guys don't. And after he got hurt that first time, he was not the same back. And I would not repeat, I would not have paid him more than $12 million a year. He ended up getting into a situation where I think his base is like 13, and he can, if he hits incentives every year, he can average 15 million a year for the length of his deal. So for a person, listen, he's got a family, he's got a wife, he's got a daughter. I think he has another child on the way, or something like that. He's recently had a child, but I know he has a wife and a daughter. Nothing but the best for him as a person and his family. But as far as Saquon Barkley, the player, you're my op. I don't like you, and that's that. That's really all I got to say about that. Tiki Barber said something about it, and Saquon clapped back and said that Tiki Barber isn't loyal, and some people can say that. I mean, he talked about Eli Manning, but Tiki Barber, guess what? His name is in all the record books for a Giants running back. Tiki Barber, he arguably, not even arguably, I think Tiki Barber was better for a sustained time. If you look at the sustained production, Tiki Barber was a monster. Saquon could have been better than Tiki Barber, but he just couldn't do it. So we weren't going to pay him that much. The Eagles were just the Eagles just love just like some people get in the shower, right? And the water, and I won't go into detail, but the water just runs down. The Eagles are just standing right under the Giants, and they just love to drink the water that runs off of the Giants' body. They just love that. They just want every single player that leaves the Giants that they think is good. They're just there waiting for it, just waiting for it. Starting with Steve Smith back in the day, they're just waiting for that water to drip off our body, waiting for that sweat to drip off of our body. So won't go into more detail than our body, but that seems like the Eagles are very interested in whatever the Giants are interested in. So they're also interested in McKinney. I'm sure they're going to pay this dude 18 million a year, 17 million. So allow them to do it. Go ahead and do it. Their cap is going to be messed up. This isn't going to turn into a Super Bowl for them. And the Eagles are just the Eagles. I'll never like them. They'll never be. I'll never like them. They just make me sick. They make me sick. And literally, they do things like this to be petty. I really think so. It was, of course, about getting better, but also I feel like they're kind of being petty. That's what they've loved to do. And of course, they've gotten better. Like Devontae Smith, that was a petty move, I believe. But it was also a move that made them better. And this is going to be one of those moves. Saquon is going to be good behind that offensive line, but who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be? Saquon could have gone to Houston. He could have gone to a lot of places, but they weren't going to pay him as much. And it is what it is. So at the end of the day, he's my op. But let's get into bigger and better news than the likes of Saquon Barkley. The Giants made a trade today for a 2 and a 5. The same two. We traded a 2 and a 5 for Leonard Williams. We got that back for Leonard Williams. And we traded a 2 and a 5 for Brian freaking Burns from the Carolina Panthers. Stud pass rusher. a guy that is a beast, a guy that many Giants fans wish we took. Dude is he's an A pass rusher. He's not the best in the league, but he's up there. He's an alpha pass rusher. He's got moves. He can use power. He can use speed. Finally, someone who can make a difference by himself. We have not had that in forever. He's probably going to be the best edge we've had here since JPP. I'm just saying it. I'm just saying it. So happy that we got him. We got him for a 2 and a 5. A pass rusher of his caliber for a 2 and a 5 is a steal. It's pretty much universal across the board. Everybody thinks we got a steal. Do you really care about paying Saquon Barkley and paying Xavier McKinney when you could pay Brian Burns? We paid him $30 million a year. It is what it is. I haven't looked at the structure of the deal, but he's getting $30 million a year. But that's the going rate for these pass rushers. That just is what it is. He's going to be on the same line as Dexter Lawrence. He's going to be on that same line as Kayvon Thibodeau. Hopefully, Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be your Batman now. Your Robin now. So if he can continue to develop and be that second pass rusher, he's going to keep getting these one-on-ones, and he's going to be wreaking havoc on the quarterback along with Brian Burns, along with Dexter Lawrence. That is a nasty trio if Kayvon Thibodeau can rise to the occasion. The Giants also went out and got Jon Runyan. That is solid signing. I think he's a starting player. Has a little potential to get better as a player. Of course, his dad was the guy who went toe-to-toe for years and with Michael Strahan. So kind of a Giants connection, but kind of not because he was never a Giant. But he was a guy who was good friends with Michael Strahan, who went toe-to-toe with him for the majority of their careers. And Jon Runyan is a Giant. He's a guard. He can play tackle. And I think he's a guy that is going to make this line better. But we probably do need to add another tier below him, kind of interior lineman. And we also need to address linemen in the draft in probably the first 4 rounds. We got 1 second round pick now. So it's going to have to be in the 3rd round or maybe the 2nd round. But I don't think it'll be in the 1st round. So we still have to improve right there, but I think Jon Runyan is a good puzzle piece. The Giants also went out and got Devin Singletary. That's a solid back. That's what I was looking for. You got a running back by committee. You'll probably bring someone in the draft. You have Eric Gray here. Let's see what he can do with the better offensive line. Let's see what they might bring Breida back. But let's see what some of these young players can do along with a Devin Singletary, who you can probably give the majority of the carries as it looks right now. But I think that's a solid starting running back. You do not need to pay the guy. You do not need to be paying a running back that much money if he can get shut down if the offensive line isn't blocking. So there you go with Devin Singletary. I think he's a solid NFL back. Nothing really special there, but he also can, have a couple of grinded out kind of games. On top of that, the Giants also re-signed Gunnar Olszewski, and he returned a punt for a touchdown last year, was getting about 11 yards per punt return. So good returner for us, and I'm glad he's back. He's been the best returner we've had in a very long time. So that is the news for what's been going on in New York. The biggest news probably is the Brian Burns trade, getting him for a 2nd and a 5th. And Leonard Williams got an extension too. So shout out to Leonard Williams. But he got an extension too, but not as much as you're going to pay Brian Burns. And I don't have any issues at all with what we paid him and what we gave up for him. And I think that makes free agency, it's a big move. It wasn't a free agent acquisition, but it's a big move. So good to see we got him. And then the other news, Saquon Barkley to Philly. He's got probably 1 or 2 years of elite type of running back production, maybe 3, maybe 4, who knows. But I think he's on the back 9. And I'm just going to continue to hate on the guy. So I'm not using logic here. He's on the back 9. And Philly is going to be in cap misery. They're going to be in cap disarray in the next couple of years because they just throw money everywhere. And it's not getting them championships. And when I say this, yeah, they got that championship with Nick Foles. And Nick Foles took them to that Super Bowl and won it. Listen, and just as they said about Eli Manning, it was a fluke. A broken clock finally hit 12 o'clock. The time was finally right after 60 years. It was a lucky Super Bowl. Nick Foles has not done anything since then. Carson Wentz wasn't the guy they expected. The Eagles will not be winning the Super Bowl with these moves they're making. No one is even thinking about that because listen, they are regressing. They're getting old. They lost Jason Kelsey. They lost Fletcher Cox. But they have this guy. They have Jalen Carter. They have Jordan. Who cares? Those guys are not Fletcher Cox. Those guys are not Jason Kelsey. They're getting old. The guys have retired. And guys like Saquon Barkley and Xavier McKinney are not going to save them. Saquon Barkley will not win them a Super Bowl. If you ever looked at what goes on here, no team that's paying a running back 14, 15 million a year is going to win a Super Bowl. It's just not going to happen. So it is what it is right there. Can't wait to see that dude. Can't wait to shut Saquon Barkley down. I just feel like we'll do it some way. If not, it is what it is. The Giants are a bad team. But I guarantee you, Eagles fans, this will not lead to you getting the Super Bowl. Cry if you want, but it's just the truth. It's just the truth. You can throw all the money around you want. You can bring and put together all the best super team you can. You just won't be able to do it. You will never have the satisfaction of your starting quarterback going through the playoffs and winning you a Super Bowl. You don't know what it feels like. You will never taste it. You will never see it. You will never smell it. And you will never taste it. I already said taste it. But all of the five senses, you will never, ever get the feeling of your starting quarterback winning the Super Bowl, Eagles fans. And that's a fact.